guys, so today is an exciting video for me. I'm excited because I'm going to have Indian food in just a moment, which I absolutely love. But besides that, I am talking about one of my favorites, if not my favorite personality type out there, the ENFJ personality. If you've watched my videos, you would know that in the very beginning when I first started my MBTI journey, I constantly typed as ENFJ. Out of all of the tests or times or whatever, all different kinds of tests, I have typed as ENFJ. I've gotten INFJ as well, stuff like that, but the majority is ENFJ. Let's all laugh together because I am obviously not an ENFJ, but at the time when I didn't know too much about it and I just looked at the letters, I thought it made sense. And you may be thinking, why would you think that makes sense? Because clearly you are not an extrovert. You're right, but I was fooling myself so much. I was trying to believe that I was an extrovert. I was trying so hard. My journey into college, I literally did anything it took to put myself out there. I knocked on everybody's dorm on my hallway. I invited people to dinner every night at the Commons. That was our food court. I joined organizations that I didn't even think I would ever join or had no interest in beforehand, just so I could get myself out of my shell and be more outgoing in public. Because at home, like most people, especially introverts, we are a little bit more comfortable and we come across a lot more silly and outgoing and whatever else, or at least I do. And I would assume it's similar because I have a lot of introverted friends and that seems to be their reality as well. But anyways, enough about me. Let's dive into the ENFJ personality. So let's start with their functions, because there's way more to the ENFJ than just an ENFJ. Their primary function is extroverted feeling, which is FE. Their secondary function is introverted intuition, NI. Their tertiary function, or third function, is extroverted sensing, SE. And their final function is introverted thinking, TI. So it kind of makes sense why I mistyped so long as an ENFJ, because they are known as sister types. Or if we're talking in socionics, and again, I feel like I have to clarify this, and I will make a socionics video more in depth because people get confused. But if you're looking at socionics, when I'm talking about INFJs and ENFJs and socionics, if you were looking at socionics, you would see I'm talking about the EIE, which is the ENFJ, and the IEI, which is the INFJ, in MBTI terms. But in socionics, it's an INFP. I know it's confusing. They have a good reason for it. In Myers-Briggs, for the introverts, well, actually for all of the types, they use the first extroverted function. So that's why in MBTI, INFJs have a J at the end, because extroverted feeling is their first extroverted function, and that is a judging function. But in socionics uses the first function, which I think makes a little bit more sense. Across the board, it uses the first function. So NI, introverted intuition, which is INFJ's first function, again, that's Myers-Briggs terminology, is a perceiving function. So hence, in socionics, INFP is actually INFJ, or vice versa, because they use the first function instead of the first extroverted function. So, anyway, sorry for that socionics rant. I want to get into more socionics related subjects because it's so much more deep dive than Myers-Briggs, or I'm not saying that's like necessarily better, but I really enjoy the type relations and everything else, and I think it's really interesting, so I think you guys would find it interesting as well. So I'll go into that. Again, back to the ENFJ. So ENFJs are very similar to INFJs. Like I said, there is a reason why I mistyped. And a lot of INFJs want to be extroverted, or they may think that they're extroverted. There's a lot of mistypes with people that are INFJ, and ENFJs are, at least in my mind, my idealized version of myself, or at least how I wish I was, because they do lead with extroverted feeling. They have a sense of control in their emotions. They are able to affect people on a massive scale, whereas INFJs are more individual people. And some people may find that better or whatever. I think it's really cool how ENFJs are able to gather a group of people together and make them feel a certain emotion. That is incredible to me. So they are able to create this emotional atmosphere that no other type, in my opinion, can do better than the ENFJ, because FE is for the greater good. It is, people that have extroverted feeling are able to pick up on the emotions in a room, and no other type, then I would say the ENFJ is able to make that massive leap in persuading people in a mass situation. When it comes to maybe persuading people individually, they may struggle more so than the INFJ to do so. But in a mass scale, public speaking, motivational leader, they are kings in my eyes. Also, they have this very wise perspective. It's a bit different than the INFJ perspective. They are more pragmatic in their approach. Again, INFJs lead with introverted intuition, and although ENFJs have that as their secondary function, they are, because extroverted feeling is their first function and extroverted sensing is their tertiary function, they have a way better grasp or a sense of reality, and often are better at explaining things to other people than, say, an INFJ, because they are so in tune with they're more in tune with the physical world. So they don't get as much in that contemplative state as, say, an INFJ would. There's just so many things I can say about ENFJs. I do know quite a few ENFJs in my life, or at least some of them have a strong presence. So I know, just like any other type, and this goes all across the board, it is easy to use like stereotypes to remember certain personalities, and yeah, that can be helpful, but that's also can be detrimental as well. But because it just doesn't have the full view of that individual, and it may idolize or make that person into a villain. And for example, so my stepmom is an ENFJ. She is extremely organized, and she's also she can connect the dots super well, but in a different way than I can. And when I talk about the pragmatic nature, she'll see things that are more concrete than I do, whereas we may have the same vision about something, but it's in a different way than, say, an INFJ. INFJs are able to see things even if there's no pattern, or I mean not pattern, but even if there's no evidence, whereas ENFJs, they see the evidence, or they have it more clear, so it comes across a lot. They have a stronger argument when it comes to discussing it with other types. Also, I know this sounds silly, and some people are gonna be like, you lost me. So I am always typing people, or at least trying to type people. There are certain people in my life that it takes longer to type than others, and I usually start with the test and all this other stuff. But I have typed one of my cats, and that sounds weird, and it sounds like, okay, you are crazy. Yeah, that's probably true. But yeah, I typed my cat Pumpkin. He's in my end slate. That majestic cat, that is Pumpkin. He is an ENFJ, at least. And some people may be like, oh, cats or animals don't have the same personalities and don't project human qualities onto an animal. Okay, whatever. He's an ENFJ. If you know Pumpkin, he is one of the most extroverted cats out there. You take him to a party, most cats would hide. Pumpkin comes out and he struts like those confident ENFJs and goes around to everybody. And he's also one of the most dramatic cats I have ever met in my life, and he's extremely sweet, but he's a very sassy one. And that's how ENFJs are. They can be very dramatic. There are negative stereotypes about ENFJs, that they can be bossy or, like I said, dramatic, and kind of they blow things a little out of proportion or exaggerate, and that is true. That does happen, but yeah, they are dramatic. I always think of them as kind of the actors. They're just very good at, a good actor is good at persuading people in an emotional way. And you see an ENFJ, like some people think Oprah Winfrey is an ENFJ. She is one of the, first of all, she is my hero, or at least one of my heroes. And she has such the ability to connect with others on such a level that a lot of people aren't able to do. But yeah, I also know, so I know bad ENFJs, or I at least know of one bad ENFJ. I won't go into too many details because there are probably people that know him. And in my eyes, well, first of all, he is a sociopath. And I know him I used to know him very well. He typed as an INTJ, and he used to tell people that he was INTJ. He's not. He is definitely an ENFJ. Just everything about him. But he, like I said, was a sociopath, narcissistic, and he could persuade people on such a scale that people truly believed things that he said. And he was so able to do that I mean, I didn't tell most people who he was and that he wasn't the best of people, just because it wasn't my place and I didn't want him to get in more trouble than he was already in. But when it came to people that were close to me or things like that, I did let them know. but he was an extremely manipulative person, and that also steers into the negative ENFJ, or again, there's the good and the bad of every type, the unhealthy and the healthy. So he was an unhealthy, bad, in my mind, ENFJ. And to kind of steer away from that, because I don't want to draw too much attention to that fact, yeah, for the most part, all of the ENFJs, well, not all of them, obviously, but for the majority of the ENFJs that I've met are very, very loving people, and they truly do care about others. And to introverted feeler types, which I definitely understand, when you have high FE, to an introverted feeler, let's say, especially someone that's like an INFP or an ISFP, or even their conflictor relationship, ISTJ, and again, that's socionics terms. I mean, not socionics, that's Myers-Briggs terms. In socionics, remember the P and the J switch. Extroverted feelers are seen as insincere, bossy, and kind of fake. That's kind of what FE is seen as. And to the extroverted feeler, especially someone maybe like an ENFJ, I have felt this way too. Introverted feelers can seem as selfish, especially to that high FE person. They are so concerned of the greater good and doing things that will impact the masses, that someone like an INFP or an ISFP who has their own moral structures or their own moral values of what's good and bad, although that's really great, the extroverted feeler, if they aren't aware of those differences, they're going to probably see that person as selfish. No, this was supposed to be an ENFJ video. I think I'm still gonna title it as an ENFJ video. I know I kind of went on a ramble, just like a lot of my videos, because as you may know, I typically do this in one take and I don't have a script when I do it. Maybe that would be beneficial to incorporate that stuff in the future, but I kind of like the rawness of just kind of spitting it out there. But that being said, let me know in the comments below if you have any thoughts about this topic. And I really loved our interaction with my last video about the fact that I'm single and that's okay. It was such a good conversation. I really, really loved all of the different comments and questions people had towards one another and towards me. I just think you guys are amazing. For the most part, I do get some people, a lot of people think I'm an introverted feeler type. No, whatever. Like, I mean, you could think that, that's cool, but I'm not. Or they'll say that, like, I got one guy say, oh, your video's boring or something, and he didn't even like actually watch it, just because I guess I have a calm voice. But regardless, for the most part, 99.9% of you guys are incredible, and I hope that one day I get the opportunity to meet as many of you as possible, because I really, really appreciate you guys in my life. This is such an amazing community and such an amazing platform to be able to share these ideas in this format. But yeah, Have a great day, and I will see you soon.